Hey, what's happening, family? My name is Keegan, and this will be the first ever podcast called Just a Conversation. And to kind of just give you some background about me, about this podcast, and kind of the direction that I hope to go in this year for the year of 2023, the year of seven, and just share with you who I am, what I've been experiencing in this beautiful journey that we call life, and where I plan on going, really. And it's all going to be based off of this idea or this belief, essentially, that everything in the universe has its own language. And here I would like to open up, this portal, if you will, as a means to explore these languages in the form of a conversation. You see, because I believe that everything has its own language, meaning its own vibratory frequency, its own level of consciousness, its own reverberation, its own expression. You see, from something as simple as the desk that I am sitting at right now and the microphone that I am speaking through, you see, they carry a consciousness, they carry a level of awareness, and whether we can fully realize that or not, I am carrying a conversation right now with the desk that I am sitting at. You see, because I am sitting at something and it is serving a purpose, and there's a communal agreement between the two of us that this desk will stay here, it will hold up my laptop, it will hold up my microphone, and it will hold me up. Well, at the same time, I'm giving thanks and gratitude for this being, whether it can consciously, communally talk to me in the way that we think conversations are, which are through English or some other verbal language. No, there are so many other forms of conversation. There are so many other forms of communicating between one being or entity to another being or entity. This may sound real far-fetched or, kind of grandiose or perhaps just plain crazy to some of you, but I'm going to discuss on how I got to this way of thinking, how I essentially discovered myself, and I'm continuing to discover myself in and throughout everything in this beautiful universe that we are a part of. You see, for me, I have 7 years free from active addiction. January 5th, 2016, I was removed from copious amounts of drug addiction, but most importantly, I was removed from a state of fear, a state of uncomfortability, to be put into a different state of uncomfortability. Once you remove the substances from me, I'm left with me. So it's been a really interesting and beautiful journey over these years. You see, I grew up in upper middle class, Southern California. I was privileged, if you will. But no, all kidding aside, I do believe that I did have a privilege of growing up where I've grown up. I do have blessings of having food on the table and clothes on my back. I do have blessings of being in a household where both parents were present. Now, regardless of what was, taking place, things that happened within the family dynamic as far as, trauma, inability to effectively communicate between each other, just these dynamics that arouse within every family, really, and for me, for the longest time, being the oldest of four, I felt like I took the brunt, and I was a guinea pig, if you will, which, in my experience now, having children, I'm seeing, that my parents did the best they could and continue to with what they have. I would feel that it is our hope as a parent that our children are better versions of us, right? I mean, that's kind of like the whole point of procreating, is we are evolving into something far more profound, far more introspective and loving. I would hope that's my wish for my children. You see that they are able to be better than me, and that again is based off of some sort of perspective that I carry, right? You know, what I may think is best in the long run might not actually be best for my child. But we're here, we're doing it, fam. And we're aligning ourselves as best we can with, love, the love frequency. But getting back into a little bit of my history, or how I got here, if you will. I was involved in a community known as Alcoholics Anonymous for quite some time. Alcoholics Anonymous, over the years, me going into my 33rd year now of living in this vessel known as Keegan, I was broken. I was lost. I was pretty much hopeless. Being in and out of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, having gone to several treatment centers, and when I say several, I mean 10 and up. And when I say 10 and up and I say several, I mean I'm going and completing these programs, 3, 6, 9-month programs. But that's just the thing, right, fam? I can program pretty good, being that that's the institution that we are brought up in, is a conditionings and constructs of programming. But it's when I'm left to my own devices, right, and I don't have a connection to spirit or to create tricks. And what I mean by that is we have a masculine and feminine creator energies and destroyer energies. And what I mean by that is we live in this dualistic realm, and we carry both the male and female aspects and expressions within our beingness. Being a male personally, I carry 2 parts male, 1 part female. And women, they carry 2 parts female, 1 part male. And when we come together in a divine union, and this doesn't mean a sexual union either, it just means a divine union, an understanding. You see another microcosmic conversation, if you will, between 2 holy beings. And we're all holy, mind you. When we get together and we understand these layers of energy, and we commune between each other, beautiful things happen. You see, we open up ourselves to different layers of consciousness, different dimensions of being, different dimensions of matter, of living, essentially, of being, of consciousness. But yeah, for me, it was a long, hard road and difficult journey to finally get to a place where, at the end of my using 7 years ago, and for me, I mostly used intravenous drugs, heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine. I even, like to intravenously use alcohol. But that was the old, sad, lonely, broken Keegan. But at the same time, fam, I wouldn't change any of my experiences, you see, because it has created and helped mold me into the man, into the being that I am today. And all of those experiences have equipped me with a beautiful set of tools that no one can take from me. You see, because it's my experience, and my experience cannot be faked. It cannot be transferred over and taken from me, because it was what my soul has experienced and gone through and chose. That's what I also believe is I chose to come here. I chose to experience these things that we sometimes categorize as good, or these things that we sometimes categorize as bad. You see, it's all really just perspective. But yeah, just kind of getting back in to my background, fam. I used from the time I was about 13 or 14 years old. And when I say used, I mean I started escaping my current reality through the means of substances. Substances being at first cannabis, then alcohol, and then nicotine, tobacco, behaviors, masturbation, over-sexualization of pretty much everything, heavily addicted to masturbation, or, just essentially the ideology and the idolization of treating women and horribly, and this was all programming from pornographic material as well that was essentially laid upon me at a young age, 10, 11, 12 years old, when I first started indulging in pornographic material, and not understanding what was taking place, what was happening within my being. I'll also get deeper into that as these podcasts go on, fam, about pornography, about the correlation between drugs and alcohol usage and the over-sexualization, the matrix that has been constructed up and around us as a society, deeming, this fake ideology, this fake idea that we are empowering women through their expression of over-sexualization. But this is all, coming from a white male, right, fam? So what do I know, right? But I can tell you this, based on my opinion and my experiences, right? Women are ever so powerful. We come into this world one way, and that is through the infinite portal of the yoni. You see, we as a society need to understand and value women, empower women, raise them up, lift them up, support them, so that they will do the same for our men. You see, this is a union. We need to bring this union back. We need to bring this unity, consciousness, expression back. And that's, a big part of what this podcast would be about too. Kind of understanding how to effectively reignite these channels of communion between our fellow brothers and sisters. But besides that, going back kind of a little bit more history about me, 2 years ago is really where my life started exploding and transforming into something that it is today. And I have a studio in Santa Ana, California, where we've been open for almost 2 years now, where I was directed a little over 2 years ago in a meditation by Archangel Michael. And when I say Archangel Michael, I'm talking about Saint Michael, Michael, the carrier of the blue flaming sword, a true archangelic being that came and helped me during my awakening process. And that's a whole other subject, because there are also beings masquerading around and pretending to be these archangelic or angelic ancestors of ours. But that's a whole other conversation for another day. So you have to tune back in to hear more about that, fam. But that being said, at the end of the day, I was directed to open up this studio. And I say that I'm the co-founder because I'm essentially kind of just doing what I'm told from my ancestors, from my guides, from the beings that came before us and after us that are appearing in my life today in this timeline as a means to help me be a better version of myself and to help my fellow brethren and sisterine essentially express their true nature, their true power, which is our divinity, which is a very high level, high dimensional consciousness that is readily accessible and available to the masses today. But we must choose. Yeah, this is how you become the chosen. You choose simply by choosing, fam. Simply by saying, yes, I am. And it is so. But, yeah, 2 years ago, at the beginning of this pandemic, this whole facade of fear and chaos, which then is perpetuated into the creation of fear and chaos, you see, because this is how powerful we are as a collective. This is how powerful we are as a singular being. Even though there's really no such thing as a singular being, we're all just pieces of each other. But that's my opinion. But what I'm getting at is the fact of the matter is I came into a remembrance, right? And I'm continually upon this path of remembrance. And I call it remembrance because you see, we've already done this before, family. You know, whether you believe in reincarnation or not, there is a piece of you within your soul, within your eternal flame, O Holy One, that knows, truly knows, that you are more than just the body. You are more than just this mind. You are all. But it takes time to recognize this oneness, this allness, you know, within ourselves and then within our fellow brothers and sisters and then within everything, whether it be plants or animals, or again, back to what we were talking about in the beginning of this conversation, whether it be my microphone or this desk that I am sitting atop. But yes, fam, this podcast will be an opportunity for you to learn more about me, about my experiences, about the things that I've been going through over the last couple of years. You see, I was very heavily involved in Alcoholics Anonymous. When COVID happened, all of my meetings shut down. And 2 months before everything closed down, my sponsor of 6 years passed away. And I say 6 years because this man started helping and sponsoring me before I was sober. So, you know, he in and out of jail, institutions, treatment centers and the like. You know, this man continually showed up for me. And bless his soul, he passed away from, he had double knee surgery. He was put on some painkillers. And the fact of the matter is the illusion and the beast was ignited and fed. And it wasn't long after that my sponsor passed away. This beloved man who still shows up for me, who still visits me, who's still here to help guide me and remind me of how important it is to reach our hand out to our fellow brothers and sisters that are struggling, you know, to help bring them up and raise them up. You see, I have a method in a way. I carry any fives and ones that I acquire. I keep them with me, either in my car or in my backpack. And anytime that I come into contact with someone that is struggling, whether they be homeless or anything of the like, I give them this money as a way to honor my sponsor. You know, this man, Richard Aston, bless him, as a way to honor him because, you know, he showed me this behavior. He showed me this way of helping people many years ago. And it's a way to honor him. It's a way to honor my spirit. And it's a way to help lift up our fellow, family, our fellow families that are struggling. So that is just like kind of like one of the things or a way that I tithe or give back in a financial aspect, at least, you know. I give away all my fives and ones to those that are struggling. And it's just like a cool little thing that I like to do. And I only share that because it's a way to honor this man as well and honor the idea that we can help raise each other up, even with something as simple as a dollar bill. You see, because it's the intention behind it. It is the intention behind the action. But yeah, when he passed away and COVID happened, I was very angry, lost, and confused. You know, I was in a long-term relationship at the time. In fact, I was engaged at the time. And, you know, my significant other, she took a lot of the brunt end of my confusion during that time. And, you know, it is a big part of who I am. You see, on this spiritual path, we come to understand and recognize that anger is an expression. There's a time and place for everything, and we get to choose how we express as well, you know, as we become more conscientious and aware of our behaviors, our triggers, our thought patterns and processes. But at that time, the anger and confusion was so strong within my being that instead of using regular drugs and alcohol, I started to turn to meditation. I started to turn to conscientious breathing practices, which then brought me back to plant medicines. Plant medicines being cannabis, being mushrooms, psychoactive and non-psychoactive, and other forms of psychedelic medicines. And I was called back to these medicines, and I say called back because I had sat with them in this current lifetime as a young child, or as a young teen, I should say, not a young child. But yeah, could you imagine our children tripping? No, no, no. They're already in the realm, fam. You see, it's a condition we place upon them at a young age that pulls them out of the realm, pulls them out of seeing, these imaginary friends, if you will. But in case you didn't catch on, I do strongly encourage these thought processes and behaviors within my children, the things that we would consider unnormal or funny or made up or whatever. No, you see, our children are peering into the realms that we have closed ourselves off from seeing. Yeah, they are still in communion. And we can reignite these strands of DNA, these channels within our beingness, through certain scientific, sacred practices. But that being said, I found these sacred practices to start expressing through me when I started sitting with myself more. And what I mean by that is I would sit in meditation quietly, in a quiet meditation, and I would sit and watch the thoughts that would come up within my being. Even being angry and uncomfortable and feeling silly, I would sit. I would sit and wait. You see, and in the sitting and waiting, I have found deeper facets of myself to expose themselves to me. Pieces of myself that I didn't even know were there or that existed, because you see, they were so covered up by trauma. They were so covered up by preconceived notions and ideologies that were pushed upon me and that I took inside my being and made agreements with them. You see, I agreed with those ideas of being less than, or being fat or overweight or unlovable because I looked a certain way, or for being, to this or to that, or not enough of this or not enough of that. All bullshit. I mean, yes, fam, we need to be honest with ourselves, but, these extreme ideas, constructs, if you will, the rigidity, for me, has only brought suffering. Yes, suffering. Not peace, not harmony, not appreciation. I mean, through struggles, yes, appreciation, but these processes have taken time. It's taken time. And if anything that I could bestow upon all of you is to be patient with yourself, to be kind, take a little bit longer with yourself, as you would with you if you were a child. Or for those parents of you out there, like how do you support and show up for your children? Wouldn't you do that for you? I would hope. We need to bring that back, family. And it never stopped taking a village. Never stopped taking a village. You see, just because it's, we say this saying, it takes a village for these children to raise these children. It takes a village to have a healthy, substantiated psyche. And we can't find that from one being or one significant other. And I'm not talking about polygamy. I'm talking about the understanding of how we line up with our community, how we line up with our friends and family, and how we activate each other. And, you could discuss this and dive further deeper into these aspects by looking up your human design chart. Human design has to do with our astronomical makeup, along with mapping of our organs and different chi pathways or energy pathways or gates, if you will, that run through our body. And each being has different activations or different coding. And when we come into contact with other people that have like-minded coding or similar coding or similar frequencies, then we reverberate and we talk to each other. Here it is, another conversation. You see, all of these conversations, whether we're conscientious of it or not, are occurring. It's the same thing that happens when we go barefoot and put our feet barefoot in the sand in the ocean, or we put our bare feet into the grass and wiggle our toes in the grass and feel the soil. There's this beautiful conversation happening between man and nature, woman and nature. We have to stop and listen. to understand this microcosmic conversation, you see? But yeah, in order to get there, to get into these things, I started meditating. I started practicing conscientious breath work. And what that means is bringing an intention and awareness to my breathing patterns, to invoke different states of consciousness. This is an age-old system, family, that is actually within every fiber of our being. And we don't need a book. We don't need a guru. We don't actually need any of these things if we actually just took the time to essentially place ourselves atop the mountain or within the cave. That's what I've done over these last few years at my studio, in a way, is place myself inside my spiritual cave, where I can discern and come to a realization or conversation with me. Yes, with the aspects of Keegan, which are multidimensional, as with every other being here that is human. I say that because whether we're conscious of it or not, there's more than just humans here. Just because it looks like a duck doesn't mean it's a duck. But yeah, at the end of the day, fam, there's a methodology to bringing about a shift in consciousness, a shift in awareness, and activating ourselves or our DNA in order to be who we are, which is interdimensional, everlasting, angelic beings. You see, we are more than these carbon bodies that we are inhabiting. This is just one facet of our being. But yeah, to get a little bit deeper again, as the last 2 years have gone, is I've spent a lot of time satiating the logistical side of my mind, the logic reasoning side, by reading and diving into books and material that my spirit has guided me to and my guides have brought me to. You see, the synchronicities or numerology and numbers lining up for me. My whole day is filled with either looking at the clock at a numerical sequence repeating, for example, like 111, 222, 333, and I find myself in synchronicity with the universe. This is a sign that pops up for me. I'm doing something. I'm called to look over at my phone or tablet, and there it is, 11:11 a.m. And those are just little signs for me, that Spirit says, you're on the right path. Keep going, I also like to read license plates, like matrix coding. I see symbols and numbers and geometric shapes everywhere I go, in everything, and it takes converting the mind into this construct, into this structure, in order for you to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear and the heart to fully receive. Because a lot of the trauma that we incur is a callousness of our heart center, and these agreements that we place upon ourselves are constructs that essentially we build up a shield around ourselves and around our heart foremost, and we are incapable of connecting truly. We're incapable of fully being present because we're so full of disharmony, essentially, at the end of the day. We are in a disharmonic state. But there's a way out. There's a way out, holy ones. And the way out is by simply listening to your heart. One of the hardest journeys that I've had to take, and I continually take on a daily basis, is from the mind to the heart. Yes, it's that long, long journey, truly connecting the mind and heart. And then let's take it a step further, the heart to the gut. We have more than one brain, family. We have more than one way of hearing, listening, intuiting, what we are doing and where we are going, and how to do that effectively. But I feel like that this is probably a good place to kind of stop for the first episode. A little bit of background on me. I look forward to bringing people on. I look forward to sharing more about me, more about my path and journey. There's so many things that I look forward to talking about. I look forward to talking about sacred geometry. I look forward to talking about Reiki, which is energy healing practices, Qigong, which is another form of energy work, or Chinese is a Chinese medicine with energy work, also using different plants and herbs and other medicines. I'm gonna be talking about different healing peptides and other things that are available to us in order to enhance and further help support our ascension, our healing processes, and just who we are at this time. I look forward to sharing about magic, alchemy, about different radionics practices and technomancy, which is the understanding that everything in the universe has a numerical sequence, a vibratory sequence, a light sequence, a sound or reverberation, and that we can intertwine and create things within this realm when you have an understanding of these sequences. When you have an understanding of how these things line up and intertwine on the quantum level with each other, there is no separation, there is no difference. You can create your reality here, family. I am.